Hello, Geneva, and welcome to Officially Speaking. I'm your host, Kevin Starr. Each month, we sit down with one of our local elected officials to get the latest on what's going on with the City Council. Today, we're joined by 1st Ward Alderman Mike Bruno. Mike, thanks for being here today.
Oh, happy to be here.
Why don't you start off and tell your viewers a little bit about yourself and your background?
Well, I lived in the 1st Ward for about 34 years, but it goes back longer than that. My grandparents, we'd visit here in the late 60s, but my great-grandparents settled here in 1903. When we visited out in the 60s, Geneva was quite in the middle of nowhere, but so it's serendipitous that I ended up living in Geneva and setting down my roots as I did. Worked at Burgess Norton for 20-some years in information technology, and restored a house on Richard Street, and we've kept going.
You were elected to the City Council in 2013. During your first 2 years, would you describe your experience so far?
It's been very rewarding. Being engaged with the community is it's very rewarding. Since I'd been on historic preservation for some years, which I didn't mention earlier, but I was on historic preservation for 13 years, I've been pretty connected to the city, so there's been no surprises really. But it's good to be involved in some of the long-term decision making.
Having lived in the 1st Ward for so long and being involved in the community for a number of years, what issues are important to your constituents?
The 1st Ward is primarily downtown and going west. So most of the residents are downtown. Everyone recognizes Geneva's downtown as being central to our identity. So many of those types of issues that affect downtown affect my constituents, but we don't look at that in a vacuum too. There are other concerns that affect Geneva as a whole, such as the East State Street redevelopment and some of the other developments nearby that just contribute to the general health of the community.
Are there things that have surprised you since being elected to the City Council?
Well, again, having been connected to the city for as long as I have, between HPC and before that even SPAC, nothing's really surprised me, but I know some things have surprised constituents. We've made some great inroads with our new website, and if there are issues that pop up that historically constituents might have been surprised about, you can get updates through the website, emails. You can know what the agendas are, what developments are going on. So it's a very valuable resource, I think, for constituents.
What is your position on Prairie Green, given the wetland credit plan has not worked out as originally intended?
Well, that was disappointing. Now, we had the community years ago elected to secure that open space, and that's that was great. We had an opportunity to try and extract a little more revenue, with a green motive with wetlands. We've done what we can there, I think, and there seem to be some real challenges. Those challenges make it difficult to keep spending money on it. I haven't crossed it off my list of hope-fors, but it's getting more difficult. It would be nice to be able to to manage some wetlands out there.
Another topic in the news recently is the City Council's decision to defer City Hall space needs. What is your stance on the issue, and when do you think it should be addressed?
Well, clearly, City Hall space is at a premium. We're very tight. It does affect the functioning of the city, but we're getting by for now. I think what informs me the most about City Hall space is I think it's really important to keep the civic functions as close to downtown as possible. So I think while we're getting by, I think we need to keep close tabs on the best opportunities that come up, whether it's library to name one, but just to keep an eye on those opportunities as they come up, so that we can jump on them when we see them available.
With the city's annual strategic planning event on the horizon, how does this process help staff and city council plan for Geneva's future?
Strategic planning is a good exercise. It's fairly lengthy, and we have a lot of issues on the table, if you will. One of our consultants asked me about how many priorities we have, and is that too much to have on our plate? I likened it to we have a very large buffet of priorities, and we put on our plate what's valuable, what we want to work on at this moment. But it's a good exercise, because we really need to keep those high priority things in our consciousness, so we're always working on them, always thinking about them. So even if we can't act on a specific issue at this time, we're always thinking about it, so when opportunities come up, we can react quickly.
Talk about some of the other issues that the City Council has been discussing, or may be discussing in the near future, that our residents might be interested in.
Well, there's a number of things going on. One of them, for instance, in the first ward, is the redevelopment of the Citron property. We have a new owner that wants to build some high-density residential, which economically has some great benefits for downtown. We've got to keep on top of the competing interests. We've got to look at traffic, we've got to look at mass and scale, because it is adjacent to the historic district, and that is a general public concern about mass and scale and character of downtown. So we've got to balance those issues. We've got a new ownership of the Millrace Inn property that there's no specific plans yet, but between that, some property on the east side of the river, the East State Street corridor redevelopment, there's going to be some pretty big projects that can go a long way toward improving and enhancing our downtown core.
It's hard to believe, but the holiday shopping season is probably only a few weeks away. Can you tell our viewers why it's important to shop locally here in Geneva?
Well, with all my time on historic preservation, I've really gotten connected to downtown. I've done a lot of research. What we have here, where everyone enjoys our downtown and they like our downtown, I don't think everyone realizes how rare a thriving downtown is, and how fragile it can be. We've got we've got property owners that want to be here, and we need to keep it that way to keep a thriving downtown. The important thing to remember is that once you lose a downtown, it's pretty much a one-way street. It's very difficult to come back from that. So it's we need to be very careful in managing the character, the zoning, and come to amicable agreements with property owners that want to make changes.
Given that you've spent so many falls here in Geneva, what is your favorite part about this time of the season here?
Well, I don't have a least favorite time of the year in Geneva, but we've got a great tree canopy. As the colors change, to walk downtown, get a cup of coffee, run into friends. It's we've got a pretty spectacular city all around, fall and otherwise.
Another project that might be interesting to your residents in Ward 1 is the reconstruction of State Street next spring. What can you tell us about this project, and why is it important to, again, shop locally in Geneva to support our downtown?
Well, there's probably not anyone that passes through Geneva that doesn't recognize West State Street as being in really terrible shape. We're often questioned about what can we do about it. Well, since it's a state highway, it is. We really can't do much about it, whether it's pedestrian crossings or major reconstruction. But it is nice to hear that I believe next spring in 2015 they'll start reconstruction on West State Street, which will go all the way from the river probably to the county line, I believe, toward DeKalb. It'll be done in sections. At some point it's going to impede traffic, so as with the reconstruction of East State Street, when that begins at some point, we need to make sure we take care of the downtown merchants that are affected by that construction. So shop downtown.
That's all the time we have for Officially Speaking. We'd like to thank Alderman Bruno for his time and insight into the City of Geneva.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We also thank you for watching. We hope you tune in again next month to get the official word from your elected officials.